What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Guys, every shred of information we put out on this channel is brought to you by a couple products. Here are the specials. Stick around. Number one, the Cortex Nootropics Stack. Look, I built this because I'm an entrepreneur, and I needed focus, mental energy, motivation, verbal fluency for 18 hours straight running my past business. I actually took this over Afanils at that point because it worked better for me. Made a pre-made stack out of it. Been selling in just about 30 countries for just under 6 years at this point. The Cortex Stack, 30% off using the coupon code 30livecortex.com. A better deal on the Cortex Stack is the Cortex Double Stack, which gets you 2 bottles, but each of them are $24. Find the Double Stack at livecortex.com. Listen, if you are brand new to nootropics, just straight out of the gate, and need to fully understand how to use them optimally in the beginning, because I think that first critical year is it's a critical juncture in fully understanding how to take nootropics sustainably in the future. You have to get the Nootropics Ground Zero video course. It is intended to teach people who are brand new how to use nootropics. 30% off. Coupon code is 30. If you're into nootropics already and you'd like to take your usage to the 6-year mark that is defined as the master class, within which people actually stack differently, they're more nuanced in their approach, and they get better results, you have to watch the video course Nootropics Masterclass. That does not have a coupon code, and it is down from $119 to $55 even, livecortex.com. If you're a guy that has to raise testosterone, look, there's no better, more effective, science-based, proven method for raising test other than the Viking testosterone protocol out there. That's 30% off too if you use the coupon code 30 at livecortex.com. Last thing, if you're a business person that performs well, has done well for yourself, but you want to perform better, you want to go to the higher state, you want to reach that higher mental performance echelon, get either the 1-month intensive, the 3.5-month intensive, or the 6-month intensive. These are hands-on, results-driven, frequent communication, biohacking consults where we get you results. The 3.5-month and the 6-month also apply to a very, very terrible syndrome called post-SSRI sexual dysfunction. Cortex Labs and I are at the forefront of that, and we can help you to get it resolved. If there's any question about what applies, email me, Ryan at livecortex.com. Okay, so I want to have an important discussion about the differences between scientists, pharma, and biohackers insofar as fixing issues. Right? We really want to talk about the disadvantages and the advantages of each party or of each faction. Okay. And in line with the idea that biohackers have the ultimate advantage in finding solutions to issues, I see in the future, and I've already seen a degree of this, said scientists as well as big pharma reaching out to biohackers in order to get solutions to issues, as well as to get consulting or advice on drug formulation. Okay, that said, let's talk about scientists and what their disadvantage is in fixing humans' major problems. Now, these problems run the gamut, but they relate to some of the issues that Cortex Labs is at the forefront of, like post-SSRI sexual dysfunction and libido muting. Okay, so scientists. Number one, scientists are usually experimenting with rats. That's the first thing. Now, there's a lot of structural and biochemical similarities between rats and humans, and this is why this has been largely chosen as the animal to experiment on. But there are limitations there, right? Generally, we're talking about different other cofactors in physiology, okay? Rats don't smoke, rats don't consume alcohol, rats don't really eat a diet in any way similar to humans do, and rats are also rats. I mean, it's a completely different thing. I mean, there is no external stimulus comparable to humans, which external stimulus does modify neurotransmission to an extent, right? An example might be hugging someone for 20 minutes and the ensuing release of oxytocin. Okay, that's number one. Number two, and limitations on scientists doing experiments that design and execute studies, having the disadvantage compared to biohackers, is in most cases, the results are either conflicting or they are inconclusive. Okay, what I've seen is that, going down the rabbit hole of trying to fix some particular chemistry, sometimes in a lot of cases, the results end up being inconclusive or conflicting. On one hand, it is postulated in the scientific community that in the beginning stages of taking an SSRI, you have marked increases in oxytocin. Then at later stages of taking an SSRI, you have marked decreases in the release of oxytocin. This is hypothalamus and 5-HT4 receptor mediated. But they are unclear on whether or not the beginning extra release or the ensuing decrease is facilitative of some of the sexual sensitivity and libido stimulation properties of PSSD. Okay, so it's conflicting. Number 3, the construct of designing and executing studies to learn how to fix issues, some issues, by the way, induced by their drugs, is said to be overly responsible. Okay, it is said to be overly responsible. And I don't want this to sound irresponsible. Let me explain. You need, in order to fully understand how to fix a particular issue, you need both the lab and you need human experimentation. You need humans that are willing to experiment. You need to get out of the lab, and you need to have humans in the mix. Now, this poses an issue, obviously, right? Because from the scientific community, because of this overly responsible construct, they are concerned about some of the potential side effects or negative effects of what they might do in experimentation with humans, okay? And that's responsible. That is how science is. This is why they have the disadvantage and why biohackers have the advantage. It's just the way that it is. They need to get out of the lab, and they need to experiment on humans. Okay, so that is we'll just couch it there on the limitations of the scientists designing and executing studies to try to fix a particular problem. Now let's shift to Big Pharma. Big Pharma is really pretty much an easy one, because essentially how that works is, though they've got the scientists designing and executing the studies behind them, and they have to work to some degree in some plausibly responsible way, they also are driven by another major construct called capitalism. Now, you guys know me. I am a biohacker, but I am also an entrepreneur. I've been one for, 13 years. Since I've exited the United States military, I've been an entrepreneur. So I'm all for capitalism if it's done correctly. If it's done to benefit the capitalist, but at the same time benefit the user or customer or client more. That's kind of the criteria for good capitalism. Meaning, essentially, to put it simply, it's a win-win situation for everybody, right? Like a good deal. That a good deal is a good deal. Everybody gets helped. Pharma, unfortunately, is driven almost exclusively by money and revenue for the various pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and others. Okay, so that is effectively a bottleneck. It's a major limitation on their ability to sell drugs that are helpful to fixing major issues, particularly because if a dynamic has been established already, let's just take benzos and SSRIs as an example. And there's plenty of other examples of that, like proton pump inhibitors for GERD. Right? Not the best solution. Many other solutions work far better, won't make them money. These solutions are so set in stone and put in place. And there are entire contingents of people's income, and then company revenue that are dependent, okay? Immutably dependent on those drugs going out and that dynamic being in place. Okay, people are dependent on that revenue. Those companies are dependent on the revenue, and people within the companies are dependent on the income. So if in order to change that, right, to come up with something that is better, you would have to overhaul that entire system. And for revenue purposes, a lot of these companies actually have investors that put money into them, and that offers a whole nother conflicting, sort of just like difficult situation to deal with, because they've got to pay investors back. They've got boards. They have people that essentially are paid back money from their investment on a monthly, quarterly, or annual basis, right? It just does not allow them to rapidly put out something that is different, but helps people, right? They know they have these established systems in place, and in the beginning of taking such drugs, people do get alleviation from their symptoms. They're also very symptom targeting and not solution targeting. Okay, that takes us to biohacking. I would say, to segue, the first advantage of biohackers is that we are not symptom mitigation focused. We're not symptom mitigation focused. We may be in certain situations prescribing or suggesting or consulting Band-Aids for certain people's issues. But always, a true biohacker, if they're working with clients, has in the background repair work going on. Okay, repair work going on to find the root cause or causes, because very rarely is it a cause, it's causes, and actively working on the chemistry to fix that. Okay, that's number one. The second major advantage of biohackers is that biohackers do not have the construct to be overly responsible. Now, again, I don't want this to sound irresponsible. In the end, let me just be clear with people. The only way that you're going to get good results, really, really good results with people as far as fixing major issues, is to remove some of the inhibitory red tape. Okay, it's to remove the inhibitory red tape. As I said before about Pharma reaching out to biohackers, and I've seen this before in my experience and very direct in my life, but Pharma is going to continue, and this whole thing is going to get bigger, reaching out to biohackers, because in the end, biohackers are the ones with boots on the ground. Okay, they're sitting at the 100-foot view, not the 20,000-foot view. They are in the trenches working with people to solve problems. So the construct to be overly responsible is not a construct that biohackers are bound to and limited by. And that gives biohackers the advantage. It ultimately does. The other major advantage of being a biohacker, and I know this is going to sound weird to some people, but I know that a lot of you will get it, is that we do not have rats. I mean, some of us actually do have rats that we experiment on, but we do not have such specific nuance and sometimes inconclusive and conflicting based on other cofactors and other things that are in the study design. We do not have a lot of that. We're factoring in cofactors. I mean, when I work with somebody, every single goddamn thing they do is factored into what we're doing, and I need to know about it. Everything they do. Okay. But we do not exist in a dynamic where there are results that we get, meaning just some sort of notable change in a neurotransmitter receptor site or G-coupled proteins or any of that, right? Because we cannot see that at a granular level because we just don't have the technology to do that. In some cases, those things, the study might not be for a very long time. So those things could be temporary, meaning the changes that scientists are seeing in these situations which are preventing them from moving forward or suggesting this to people or taking it to the approval processes with the Food and Drug Administration or equivalent bodies in whatever country. We don't have those. Okay. What it ultimately means is we get to move faster. I want to conclude by saying this. In the end, and I know this is intuitive for folks, so I just want to make this clear. Because of the red tape and because of all these other factors and the overly responsible construct and how modern science works, which again has its place in the world, contributing in some sense to good things, making things worse in other senses. Look, at 100-foot level, they just don't have the ability and they do not have the reasonable time frame. They cannot, in a reasonable time frame, help people to get better from major issues. They can't. When you're embroiled in a major neurochemistry issue or otherwise physiological problem that's causing you to have quality of life issues, you cannot wait for $2 billion and 10 years of clinical studies. You can't fucking wait for that. Okay? This is the advantage of biohackers. We don't have those constructs limiting us in place. We can begin to work with people directly and get results. We don't have like this super, almost excessively granularly nuanced stuff going on. We are very nuanced, don't get me wrong, but it's not to the extent where some of it can throw us for a loop and confuse us and go, oh, you know what, we're not going to go down this route, because maybe it's just the negative things that you're seeing are happening only in the first week and a half. Maybe it's another cofactor. Maybe it's the genetic differences between mice and human. There's all these different things that don't limit biohackers as far as fixing themselves and biohackers that work with clients on fixing people. In the end, if you want to get results in fixing an issue, you are better off working with a biohacker. In a lot of cases, I want to make that clear, that there's cases where some issues you're better off working with a very, very passionate, knowledgeable doctor who is not driven by, who's not comfortable with their normal life and their $120,000 or $250,000 net income, and they're just kind of going through the motions, and they don't really care about your recovery. There are some doctors that actually care about your recovery. In some cases, you're better off working with them because they have access to a lot of different things. But in other cases, you're not. I just want to be clear. You're better off working with a biohacker, and if you're a biohacker yourself, you're going to get quicker results because there's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot less red tape, and you need to be down at the 100-foot view with boots on the ground, in the middle of it, in the trenches, to really hyperfix issues. Okay, so that's my take on the differences, the advantages, and the disadvantages between scientists designing and executing experiments and studies, pharma, and then biohackers. This whole biohacker movement is interesting. It has taken my life completely over. It's every day of my life, and it's amazing, and it makes me think, and it keeps me waking up in the morning, and the results that I get with people keep me happy and gives me a purpose. But the major thing about biohacking is that this is, you guys understand that you're a part of this. This is the most revolutionary scientific advancement in terms of helping people to have better quality of life and fixing underlying systemic issues that we have right now. Biohacking. And as I said, and because of what I've seen, these industries and these constructs, modern science and big pharma, are going to continue to and increasingly rely on biohackers to formulate drugs, to fix problems, to consult them on all this stuff. Hope that makes sense. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Man, that was a lot to take in. Questions, please, in the comment section. Comments, please, in the comment section. Your opinions are warranted, valid, and wanted and cherished. Thanks so much for being with me. Guys, remember, on the product side, which supports us, hey, if you want to support us, check this out. Get products. Number one, Cortex Stack, powerful pre-made stack. I mean, it's a nootropic that I built for myself. I didn't even intend to make this a public commercial nootropic product. I just realized it was so awesome and so sustainable that I had to. Cortex Stack right now, 30% off, livecortex.com, using the coupon code 30. Better deals, Cortex Double Stack. 2 bottles, $24 each. Find that at livecortex.com. Listen, if you're brand new to nootropics and really want to get all the ground stuff out of the way so that you have a great place from which to springboard to rapidly getting results, you have to get Nootropics Ground Zero. It's a video course that I created intended for exactly that. If you are into nootropics but want to take your usage to the masterclass, that's the 6-year mark at the Nootropics Masterclass. Both of those products are 30% off, or correction, Nootropics Ground Zero is 30% off using the coupon code 30, but Masterclass is down to an even $55. No coupon code. If you're a guy that needs to raise test, get the Viking Testosterone Protocol. And if you need to work with me on cognitive performance enhancement, 1 month intensive, 3.5 month intensive, or 6 month intensive. If you have PSSD, we are still taking clients. It's filling up quickly. for the 3.5 month and the 6 month intensive. If you got the budget, go with 6 months. If you don't, 3.5 months, we will get substantial results on PSSD. If there's any question about any of that, email me, Ryan@livecortex.com. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.